Your headliner this morning, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, ranking Republican on the House Oversight Committee, joins us now. Congressman, good morning, and thanks for being here. So,
good to be with you guys.
Manage the country's expectations when it comes to this report. What will we see? What impact will it have?
Well, first of all, I think Kevin is exactly right. Think about what happened. We know that the FBI spied on 2 American citizens associated with the presidential campaign. We know that they put Peter Strzok in charge of running the investigation. And we know that James Comey, the report Mr. Horowitz did just a couple weeks ago, Jim Comey opened the investigation in July 2016, put Peter Strzok, the guy who said, "We'll stop Trump," in charge of it, allowed the dossier to be used to go spy on one of those American citizens, leaked the memos to the New York Times so we could get a special counsel. And then the main thing we got from that report from Mr. Horowitz just a few weeks ago was the fact that at the January 6, 2017 Trump Tower meeting, when it was President-elect Trump, they went up there trying to set up the president, trying to trap the president, all while they were telling the president he wasn't under investigation. So I think Kevin's characterization of this is exactly right, and I look forward to Mr. Horowitz's next report, which we should get in a matter of weeks.
Okay, you think it's weeks from now, right? It's not going to be this week or even days, weeks away?
I think it probably is. I mean, look, I have the utmost confidence, as Leader McCarthy said, I have the utmost confidence in Bill Barr, but he's going to go through and do the classification designation, what we can see. Bill Barr has always erred on the side of transparency. I know that's where he wants to go.
But he's also promising accountability. Will there be accountability, Congressman?
I hope so. And look, how did we learn about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? We learned about that from Mr. Horowitz. How did we learn about the fact that Andy McCabe lied 3 times under oath? We learned that from Mr. Horowitz. How did we learn about the Trump Tower meeting when it was President-elect Trump where they tried to trap the president? We learned about that from Mr. Horowitz. So I expect this report to be good. The investigation, though, that will determine if, in fact, someone is going to be prosecuted and go to jail will be the one that Mr. Durham and Mr. Barr are heading up right now.
One more point on that. We may not hear from Durham for 6 months to a year from now, especially if he's impaneling a grand jury. Just one more fine. Andy McCabe is saying that he has not been contacted by the Department of Justice. Does that tell us anything?
I don't know. All I know is what was reported last week. I took that as good news, as I think as most people do who want people held accountable who did things wrong like Mr. McCabe did. But understand this, too. It may be a while before we get Mr. Durham and Mr. Barr's report and their investigation concludes. But understand what Bill Barr said a few months ago when he first testified in front of the Senate Finance Committee. He said there was a failure of leadership at the upper echelon of the FBI. That's certainly true, and that includes Comey, McCabe, Baker, Strzok, Page. He said that spying took place. He said there's a basis for his concern about the spying that took place. And then he used the term political surveillance, unauthorized surveillance. That is scary. So Bill Barr and Mr. Durham, I think, start from the right premise. I have the utmost confidence they're going to do the kind of investigation that needs to be done to, in fact, hold people accountable if they did wrong, which I think they did.
Topic number 2. Go ahead, Sam.
Democrats pushing forward with impeachment. Here's Jerry Nadler clearing up what some have seen as some mixed messages when it comes to how they proceed.
It is not necessarily called an impeachment inquiry. That's a made-up term without legal significance. It is, however, what we are doing. And we've been very clear for the last several months in filings with the court, in public statements, in official statements in the committee, that we are conducting an investigation with the purpose, among other things, of determining whether to report articles of impeachment to the entire House.
So from your view, Congressman, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, what's going on is what they did last week. They changed the rules in the middle of the game. They changed the rules in the middle of the Congress for the Judiciary Committee because they want to make it easier to impeach this president and go after this president. They are bound and determined to go after this president, which everyone knows in the country is not warranted, not justified, but they're bound and determined to do it. The very week they do this, change the rules to make it easier for them to impeach our president, they also voted to take away people's gun rights. I mean, that's how radical the Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee are. So, yeah, they're going to move ahead. They're going to continue to do this. We got Mr. Lewandowski coming in tomorrow for a hearing, but it is wrong, and the American people understand
that hearing should tell us a little bit about as to where they are. So let's see how that develops. David Cicilline with me on Fox News Sunday kind of gave you a choice here. He's got A, B, or C, and maybe you throw in D at the end. Give a listen to this.
I don't think there should be any confusion. The Judiciary Committee has been engaged in the work of our committee to determine whether or not to recommend articles of impeachment to the full House. We're looking at obstruction of justice, abuse of power, corruption broadly.
Obstruction of justice, A, abuse of power, B, corruption broadly, C, or I guess you could go D, all of the above. Which one will it be?
Who knows what they're going to do? They changed the rules last week, though, Bill, because nothing else has worked for them. Remember, the Michael Cohen hearing was a flop. The John Dean hearing was a flop. And the whole country saw that the Bob Mueller hearing was a flop. So they said, what else can we do? Oh, let's change the rules. Let's figure out what we can do to make it easier for us to go after this president, because they are bound and determined to go after this president, even though he's had an amazing 2.5 years of leading our country. So who knows which one they're going to pick? All I know is they're going to proceed ahead because that's all they want to do. That's all they're determined to do.
You know, and Ted Cruz over the weekend was making the case that it's not just impeaching the president. They just want to impeach somebody. Here's Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
I bet you the next Democratic debate, they'll all be saying impeach Kavanaugh, impeach Trump. There's nobody they don't want to impeach. And at some point, they just have to let the anger go and recognize that the democratic process actually moves on.
As the campaign trail continues and the look forward to 2020 continues, do you see this going away anytime soon?
No, I mean, they've taken, as I said, some of the most radical positions. Think about this. They want to take away people's private health care. They want to take away your drinking straws. They want to take away your border. They want to take away your guns. They want to take away your Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, and they want to take away your president. I mean, that's who today's Democrat Party is. That's who today's left is. I think Senator Cruz is exactly right. And frankly, that's how we should frame it up for the American people. When you think about it in the broad sense, they want to take away your liberty, take away your freedom. That's what we're up against, this socialist philosophy the Democrats now espouse versus freedom. And I think that's how you frame up this campaign over the next year and a half. And I think when American people see that and look at it, they're going to reelect President Trump in a strong way.
You mentioned Brett Kavanaugh. What do you think is going on here?
Well, I mean, look, what's going on is, wow, the mainstream press lied to us again. I don't think that should surprise anyone. What I think is interesting is the good journalists like Molly Hemingway who got to the truth, the good journalists like you have at Fox who get to the truth. This is so much like the Russia investigation, where for 2 years they told us all these things were going to happen and they had this narrative, and when we get it all said and done, wow, it wasn't accurate, it wasn't true. So it's just another example of the mainstream press not being honest with the American people.
Okay, we'll see where that goes. Jim Jordan, thank you for your time. Corey Lewandowski tomorrow afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.